Hi, my name is Margaret Hagan. I direct the Stanford Legal Design Lab, which lives at Stanford Law School and Design School, where we work on how to make the legal system work better for people, especially around the theme of access to justice. And to work on this, we use a combination of approaches, but mainly around human-centered design and civic technology, and how we can use these other types of toolkits to bear on the legal system, so that we can think about improved services, a more easily navigable system, and hopefully to empower people to get to better outcomes when they're using the justice system to deal with an eviction, a rights violation, a divorce or a custody battle, or a debt collection, these kind of common problems that we know the legal system should be helping people with. So to that end, we've been developing new designs and new technologies here at our lab. Most of them have come out of classes where we've taught students in partnership with courts and legal aid groups, listened to their needs, scouted out opportunities, and then gradually developed ideas that turned into prototypes that turned into working products. So I'm going to share some of those working products with you. One of our products is Navocado, and the goal of this project was to help legal experts, like from the courts and from legal aids, to better communicate step-by-step guides about how to get through a process to either inexperienced attorneys or to self-represented litigants. So we built this site to make it much easier to create a visual, digital, easy-to-follow step-by-step guide. Because we found it so challenging to do it constantly as one-offs, one per client, we tried to make it more of a template that any legal organization could easily create on our platform and then integrate back into their website or their app. So the goal is, again, to think through very step-by-step overviews of how a process works, because we kept hearing that in our design workshops, that the process of following a common civil or criminal legal matter was just so confusing, that there were so many different terms and steps, and it was so lengthy that what we kept hearing from litigants was that they wanted a big picture, like a Google map of how to navigate a certain process. So they wanted that bird's eye view. So that's what we decided to set up in our template, that for any given process, like getting a guardianship in California for a kid who's not yours, but who you need to have some custody over, that we would give a little advertisement or a short description about what that process looks like. And then we would give an overview of all the steps, that bird's eye view of the 5 main phases of getting a guardianship. And we put pictures on it to make it more visual so that it would be easier to stick in people's brains. And then within each of these 5 main phases, these 5 parts of the story, we then break it up into more discrete tasks. So literally we took giant PDF books full of information about how this process works, what decisions you have to make, what forms you have to fill out, what hearings you have to attend. And then we sequence that into these discrete tasks that are all organized within these 5 phases. So sometimes we ask people questions, and then that shows different tasks to do later on, or oftentimes it's just checking off whether you've done something or not. If you've logged in, then you can save your progress and save your information to your account, but you don't have to log in. You can still look through all of the information without. So these are all the questions that a lawyer would ask you if you afforded a lawyer to help you understand whether this is the right process for you. So in this initial step, it's about getting that understanding of the situation. In later steps, it's more about filling in documents. So having all of these forms right here with some of the best practices and things to watch out for at all of these steps. Everything down to where to sign them, where to file them, whether they should be stapled or if they could be double-sided, all of these little details that really make it hard for people to follow a legal process. We've packaged it all up into this step-by-step. And the goal is that this type of guide could be used for that kind of very high-level overview. So maybe not everyone is going to go through and actually fill in their forms on this guide, but they can walk through and they can start to estimate how long would this take, how much money would this take, is it something that I should hire a lawyer for, or is it something that I can do myself? And if they want to do it themselves, then they can dig into all of the nitty-gritty details of exactly how to serve notice, what to do when you show up to the hearing, how to prepare, how to talk to the judge. So we've laid out all of these things step by step into this guide. So that is Navocado. Another product that we've been working on is Wise Messenger. This grew out of workshops that we were running with courts and with legal aid groups that said they were having a really hard time getting people just to show up at really important hearings and appointments and other kind of legal events. And there are big consequences if you don't make these appointments and hearings. You can get warrants out for your arrest. Your case could be delayed for many more months, costing you a lot more money. And it's also a burden on the courts and the legal organizations that it really hampers their efficiency and their ability to close cases. So the goal was, could we use SMS text messages to nudge people to remember to come, to remember to be prepared, and bring everything they need to bring? So we built an application, Wise Messenger, that could live interoperably with all of these existing case management systems from the courts and client management systems from legal aid organizations. So essentially what Wise Messenger, this application, does is it receives nightly reports from these other organizations, CMSs, case management systems, and then distributes automated text message reminders to anyone that the CMS tells it to. So basically, when we set up a partnership or help somebody use this application, we decide what kind of event we want to remind people about, what kind of information should go into the text messages, and we set up a template, a set of messages that will go out 14 days before the hearing, 10 days before the hearing, 5 days before the hearing, 2 days before the hearing, 1 day before the hearing. Each of those messages a little bit more different to nudge that person to show up. And we populate those message templates with the person's individual details. So the case management system sends our application a person's name, their phone number, the name of the event, whether it's a criminal hearing or a divorce hearing or a mediation session, the time of that, the date of that, and the location of that hearing. And we use those fields of information to populate our text message templates. And then as soon as that case management system tells us to send a message to Mary in Pittsburgh to show up to her court appointment on October 26, 2019, we schedule Mary to receive messages 14 days before October 26, 10 days, 5 days, 2 days, and the day before October 26th hearing. So that way the court doesn't have to worry about creating these custom text messages. All of that automated process happens behind the scenes. And we can send then reports about any messages that don't arrive correctly or that seem to have some kind of error. So we built this platform mainly for event reminders to help people show up for their hearings and appointments, but we found other uses for it, whether it's doing intake, where we have legal aid organizations using SMS to get information from potential clients to see if they can actually serve them and then start to schedule a first meeting with them. We've also been using it for procedural coaching. We're working with a court in California to use SMS to have a 1-year relationship between the court and the litigant who's going through a very long divorce. So our text messages send automated updates about where a person is in their divorce process, what the big milestones coming up are, and if there's any kind of off-track moments. So a form that was forgotten, a hearing that was missed, something that the other party needs to do, just so that a person can stay on top of their ongoing long divorce case. We've been also using the text messages for RSVPing, for clinics or other types of pop-up events, and to run surveys and evaluation with legal aid organizations or courts who want to understand how a person who's used their services benefited or had problems with those services. In the future, we also want to use this to actually fill in forms to let people answer questions on text that would then populate legal forms, but we're not there yet. So let me show you a little bit of the back end. So if you create an account on Wise Messenger, you'll get a free set of 200 messages that you can send, so you can play around with actually sending text messages. So let me log in. You can sign up. Anyone can create an account and have a free trial version of it. But once you come into Wise Messenger, you can, first of all, see any stats of messages that you have sent, how many people have been replying, or any errors. And you can create a message template. So a message template is the basic message flow that will go out to people on their phones, and that will be populated with the variables that you set. So you can set a basic template that says, hello, #name. Thank you for coming into the office today. We're expecting to see you again on #date at #time. So you can set that message template up, and then we will automatically populate #name with a person's name, #date with the date of their next appointment, #time with the time. So it's an ability to set that template once and then let the machine populate it with the individual information. Another way to use this is to build a two-way conversation, more like a chatbot. So let me show you an example of a two-way template. So I was making a sample bot where people could text in to get guidance on eviction. So I have a start word here, sample. So anyone who texts the word sample to my phone number will then be sent this next message. Thanks for using our eviction coach bot. Are you currently preparing for an eviction hearing? So the text message will be sent to them, and if the person replies with a yes, a Y, or a C if they're speaking Spanish, then the text message will send back to them. If you'd like to explore possible defenses or counterclaims, please go to sample website to learn more. So the text message could hand people off to the right website to go. So in this way, we can create a chatbot that plays out over SMS. And this coach could be much longer. It could ask a lot more questions and give a lot more information. But this gives you a sample of building a decision tree with these handoffs, and then hopefully guiding people to very useful legal help resources over text message. A final tool that we've been working on is around machine learning to train models to be able to spot people's legal problems in text that they've written about their lives, their problems, their issues, and put online. So this tool is called Learned Hands. Learned Hands is a labeling tool which lets lawyers, law students, and other legal professionals tag up people's posts, people's stories, people's tweets to say what legal issue seems to be present based on this text. So Learned Hands is a way to start labeling these posts so that we can use these labeled posts to train models that could possibly then lead to classifiers and other kinds of tools to automatically spot and triage people's legal issues. So let me show you how this works. If you come to learnedhands.law.stanford.edu, you'll see a little bit of a background, so feel free to look around. But let me log in. Anyone can log in and create an account. So I'll log in with my existing account. And then once I logged in, it's basically set up like a game to play. So we have a limited number of questions that we'll ask you. You'll get points for every question you ask. So you can choose. So in this case, I'm going to be labeling different posts that have come from Reddit. And I'm going to start with mixed mode. I would recommend that you start with this too. In mixed mode, you get asked about all different types of legal issues. So you'll see a single post that a person has written and put online on Reddit, and then you'll be asked if all these different types of legal issues are present. If you go into a more specific category like family, housing, crime, and prisons, then you'll be asked more questions about that specific category of legal issues. But in mixed mode, you're asked about a lot of different things. So let me go into mixed mode and show you how the game works. So here we have the post from Reddit, and the title, Can My Sister Legally Take Our Dog? And then the description of the person's story. So I can read this story. This is happening in the suburbs of Chicago. On January 12th, my parents adopted a puppy. The rescue required blah, 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 my older sister. So I would read all of this, try to understand what kind of issue is going on. And then I would be asked questions by the game about what issue seems to be present. So this is a confusing one because it's about a dog. It could be considered a family member. I'll say it's on the border of whether there's a family law issue present about what family member has rights to take a dog. So I'll say yes, there might be a legal issue present here. And the goal with this marking of yes, pressing the green button or pressing the letter Z, is to indicate to this person who has posted that they might want to look into family law resources or talk to a family law professional to help them answer this question. It's not saying conclusively that there is definitely this issue present, but it's basically like a referral, a semi-informed referral about which area of law, what type of website or what type of professional to refer this person to. So I'll say, yes, you probably want to see a family law lawyer if you want to talk to anybody. So I'll click the green button here. Is there a legal issue around housing? It doesn't seem that there's any housing issue in here. I'm going to press X to tell the machine that this is probably not a housing law issue. It doesn't seem to be involving health law. I'll say no to that. It's not about work and employment. I'll say no to that. Crime and prisons. If you're unclear about what the area of law is, there's a little question mark over here that lets you understand what type of categories, what type of issues belong within this heading. So it's about crime and prisons. This is probably not implicated in this question from Reddit. Is it about accidents, torts, problems with others? It might be, but I think probably not. There's not really any implication of a tort. It's not about traffic in cars, no to that. It's not about estates and wills, no to that. Not about benefits from the government, not about money, debt, and consumer. So a lot of it's actually saying no, because I'm being asked about 20 different high-level legal issue categories, and saying no actually teaches the machine a lot, because then it can say better about what types of words and sequences of words in these posts seems to indicate that a certain issue is present or not present. That's also very helpful. So all of these no's are really useful in training the machine learning model. It's not about education. It's not about small business. And you can see I'm getting points for each answer I give. It's not about government services. It's not about Native American issues. And then I get another post. So you'll see up here that I have 5 posts to get through, and I'll be asked a certain number of issue questions for each of these 5 stories. Let's read the second one. Old apartment charged rent after I moved out. So I'm guessing it's a housing law issue. I will read through just to make sure that there are not other types of issues buried in, because oftentimes in these stories, the title indicates one issue, but when you read into the details, it turns out there's other issues involved. So I'll just read through this. All right, so it seems it's definitely a housing law issue. So I'm going to go really quick through this, and I'm going to use the keyboard with the letter X for reject and the letter Z for accept. If I wasn't sure about whether a certain issue is present or not, then I could always press this gray button for pass, where I'm saying I really can't make an intelligent, informed decision about whether an issue is present or not. So let me X family. It's not family. I'm going to check housing because it seems to be housing. And I'm going to go really quickly through the other issues. Not health, not work, not crime, not torts, not traffic, not estates, not benefits, not money, not immigration, not disaster relief, not veterans, not court, not education, not small business, not civil and human rights, not environmental, not government, not Native American. And then I get to my next one about a water authority board who must appoint a successor. Okay. So what's happening in the background is that I'm basically voting as an individual user about what issue I think is present. And my vote doesn't count for everything. What we need is a lot of different people playing this game, and then we can crowdsource the votes. And if there are enough people who all agree that a certain issue is present or not present, then we can get to a conclusive label. We can say that the wisdom of the crowds has said that this issue does seem to be present or not present, and then we can put that label onto the data set with a pretty strong confidence. And then we can use that labeled data set to give to the machine and ask it to try to then guess or classify whether certain issues are present in other posts or not. And then we can measure how the machine performs. If it's able to guess just as well as a human would label, or if its labels tend to be wildly off and not what a human would do. So that's the general process. We have a scoreboard so you can see how you're doing versus other people. You can get badges for the amount of labels that you put on. So it is a game. You can also get your quality score so you can see how well, compared to other people, you're able to correctly label whether an issue is present or not. So my quality score is 93 right now, so I'm very good in some areas. Environmental justice, I am not. I think because I actually haven't seen any environmental justice questions or disaster relief questions. But compared to the crowd and what the model says, I'm doing pretty good on most of the types of issues. If there's a consensus around immigration and court and lawyers, I have less of a consensus, that maybe I'm off compared to others, and government benefits. So I have to maybe pay more attention to how I'm labeling those types of posts. So there's the possibility for, if you have a data set, like if you're sitting on top of lots of posts or emails or chat transcripts that you've had with people seeking help, you could also import that data set into Learned Hands and use this tool to apply labels to it. And then you can get a more structured label data set that you could use for future projects for yourself. If you're interested in that, just write to me. We'd be very happy to talk about Learned Hands and our machine learning modeling. We just started this project and we're really excited to build it out more. Okay, thanks for listening today. Please reach out if you have any more questions.